We got Charles here in Austin. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Hi, Charles.
Hello. I'm calling because I have the screener asked me if I was a theist. I told him I was a deist with theist inclinations.
Okay.
And the purpose of my call is because I'm terribly disturbed about what I see as the danger of new atheism, or what is probably more aptly described as sort of a reductionist materialism. I'm sorry?
Explain where you're really coming from, then.
I'm afraid in this pseudo-modern generation, and the modernists being those living in the time of social Darwinism, and sort of this resurgence in faith on both sides, in scientism, are going to commit the same things that would naturally follow once you have the presumption that humans are merely structure, and it becomes.
You're wrong.
No,
stop, Charles. Stop, Charles. Charles, stop. Please demonstrate that it naturally follows from the idea that humans are merely material what you can do. How do you get from that is to the ought?
Okay, then if I reproduce the material the structures, I reproduce the person.
Charles, don't do an okay. I asked a question.
I'm answering your question.
All right. How do you get from the is to the ought?
I'm sorry, I did not hear the last part.
How do you get from the is to the ought?
No, it's not the ought.
Yes, you are. You're saying it's a necessary conclusion from it.
No. You see, here's what you're saying. I'm saying is that it's the argument is that there is no difference. So there isn't an ought. It doesn't matter.
No, the argument is not that there is no difference. Nobody. Charles.
Well, I'd be happy to defend the transhumanist position since I'm a transhumanist. I'd be happy to defend that. That's what he's going after. Though it's just not true, Charles. Not all atheists are. Charles, may we speak on our own show, please?
I think you're having no problem speaking.
Charles,
go ahead.
It is not true that all atheists are transhumanists. I'm one.
I didn't say they were. I said reductionists generally are. I started out by saying,
Charles,
you're not primarily atheist.
You are free to continue to believe that there's something else going on besides the physical.
There's something else going on.
Would you please stop interrupting me, or we're going to hang up on you?
Okay, go ahead.
All right. You are free to continue to believe that there's something else going on besides the physical function of our brains. You're going to remain free to believe that. Why would you not? What are you afraid is going to happen?
I'm sorry, are you asking me now?
I'm asking. Ask you a question. What are you afraid is going to happen?
It's not about what I'm afraid is going to happen as a direct result of that. I mean, I think you're really misunderstanding me. What I'm saying is that once you deprive me of the mechanisms to defend against that, like things like mind, love, non-material things that people really take for granted.
May I? Excuse me. Just correct you for a second. Hey,
we're just mechanisms. We're just machines.
Charles,
I'm sorry.
Not depriving you of love. Not depriving you of any of those things you just listed. Not a one of them.
Well,
they are in fact
that's what I was going to say about Michael Shermer.
And by the way, atheists are not depriving you of anything. Atheists are pointing out that you already lack the ability to prove the things that you seem to want to prove.
I disagree. And like I said,
yes. Well, okay, fine. And you're calling our show and telling us that we're dangerous because you disagree that when we point out
you're Philistines, you are exceedingly practical scientism.
No, not scientism. Scientism. You don't get to just make up words in order to knock down straw.
May I ask? I just want to verify. Has this caller insulted us enough? Has this caller insulted us enough that we may now insult him in return?
Probably.
I would very much like to.
Probably. Really let me tell you my argument.
Charles,
you haven't got one, dude. That's the problem.
Hang on. Everybody stop.
Tree, Matt Dillahunty, tree. What just happened? I'm not very specific.
You said a word that conveyed an idea in the English language, which brought into my... You're going to let me finish, or am I going to hang up on your ass? Which brought into my head the concept of a plant. What there is in my head as a physical brain state, because of what you said, the concept. You do not get to conflate your idea of a tree with my idea of a tree, and then say that because there are two ideas of a tree, there's something we can't explain. Because you got a brain, despite evidence to the contrary, and so do I.
I think you're missing the point.
Okay.
I mean, you're doing the same thing you're doing to me, which is interrupting me.
Dude, we have
because the edges of perception, the basis of our understanding, were hemmed in by illusions of meaning that materialism can't explain. It's not a sufficient framework. If I say, I believe in a non-material being called God...
No, you are asserting that it is impossible.
Material science doesn't allow for that.
No, sir. No, sir. You are asserting that it is impossible, materialistically, to account for thought. Please demonstrate that this is true, and not just a flat frickin' assertion from you.
I did not say that. I said it is impossible to account for the thing called a novel. You're talking about thought. I'm talking about the novel.
The novel.
Now here's what I'm
saying. That is an
abstract
concept.
I'm not suggesting. I'm sorry?
The novel, as you're using it, is an abstract concept. I'm talking about...
I don't believe in the ghetto of conception like you do. I don't believe that love is just a chemical fever with all this other poetic baggage.
What else is it, and how do you know that it's more?
You know what I think is dangerous? You know what I think is dangerous? I think it's dangerous for us to be living in a world where we are in fact discovering the physical basis for things. And there's people like you. There's people like you. Yo, hey, you called us to call us dangerous. Right back at you. Okay? Cavemen like you who want to reject what has actually been discovered because it kind of creeps you out.
What has been discovered?
You are
What has been discovered? What are you talking about?
We know vast amounts about how the brain works.
I'm not talking about the brain. I'm talking about the mind.
I've had my say, and you've had your say over and over and over again.
What is the mind? What is the mind?
Rather ineptly.
What is the mind? What is the mind?
What is the mind? That's a great question. And because I'm a solipsist, because I am uncertain...
You're a solipsist?
I'm trapped like most people...
Why didn't you start? If you're a solipsist, we're all just figments of your frickin' imagination anyway, so why don't you stay home and mentally masturbate instead of calling and wasting time on our show?
Ask yourself why you're imagining, a couple of guys like us who are going to sit here and argue with you. If in fact, the entire universe is just, an imaginary creation of your own.
Yeah.
Wow.
Until you actually demonstrate that something that you want to label a mind actually exists as a thing, now you're just talking about abstracts, and it's a waste of our time, which is why we went round and round. Enough of that.
Yeah, I didn't go far enough. I think it's dangerous to live in a world with nuclear bombs when there's solipsists running around loose.
It's dangerous that you guys are actually in favor of investigating to discover the real versus the unreal. Well, sorry, some of us give a damn. So I
don't know why a solipsist would be concerned about uploading of consciousness into a computer. All he has to do is believe that it doesn't happen.
Well, he's not still on to ask, and for that I'm almost willing to thank God. But